everyone, and welcome to a special edition of the podcast, Raising Your Child on Purpose. Today, I've got not one, but two special guests with me. My older brother, Tonwa.
Hi, good to be here.
And my younger sister, Bomo.
Hello, everyone. Nice to be here.
Welcome to Parenting on Purpose, a podcast where we discuss parenting topics to help you raise your children intentionally so that they find their unique purpose, place, and contribution to the world. My guests will be sharing childhood stories that have impacted their adult life to help us understand why parenting on purpose is so important. I will also answer your questions on how to raise children to be successful inside and outside the classroom. I'm your host, Abiera Bolu. I've been a teacher for over 15 years, teaching children as young as 4 all the way to age 18. I believe that a successful life is a life lived on purpose for a purpose. So this is an exciting podcast episode for me. I hope you all enjoy it because it's the holiday season and we're recording this ahead of my annual webinar. This is the 4th webinar I'm doing called No More Sibling Rivalry. So I thought, who better to sit with me and talk about sibling relationship, about sibling rivalry, sibling fights, sibling conflicts, sibling friendships, and everything sibling, but my own 2 siblings. So this is exciting. Tonwa, can you tell us how happy you are to be here?
I thought I was going to have a harder question than that as the first question, but I'm happy to be part of this discussion. I think it's a very important topic. There are no 2 sets of sibling experiences that will ever be the same. I think and I hope that anyone watching this will be able to learn from what we're going to discuss. I'm looking forward to the webinar itself so I can also learn from other people's experiences. This is a journey where we're all still learning, so nobody knows it all. Hoping to have fun discussing with my fellow siblings here. So yeah.
That's great. And Boma, anything you'd like to say before we kick it off?
So I think Tawa has said it all. I'm ready to go straight into the talk.
I just laughed because, sometimes this is what they say is stereotypical about the last bonds, right? Like the older one has said it all without me talking. Okay, so first thing is, do you remember the nicknames that we had? Let's share that with the listeners, our nicknames.
Bomo, you can go first on this one. I'm struggling. I'm trying to remember.
For me, I think it was Dad that gave me that nickname, Bunkety Bunk. But you know what?
Yes,
I actually liked it. I liked it a lot, but I think at some point I just decided to he should just stop calling. I don't actually know why. I think I was just trying to show that, okay, I'm older now. But I actually liked it. It never made me feel bad when I heard it. I actually quite liked it. So, yeah.
That's a good point, actually, because we loved calling you Bunkety Bunk, but it makes a lot of sense. You did announce one day that we had to stop calling you that. And I actually thought it was because you didn't like it. But now you telling us that actually you liked it, but you wanted to feel older. I didn't actually know that. I didn't realize.
I didn't know that either. I can barely remember that. I think Iberia and Bomo, you probably remind me of whatever I was called if I had anything. But Iberia, I remember a time my dad, I used to call you Frigate Destroyer.
Oh God, yes.
Frigate
I used to be called number 1 Frigate Destroyer.
That's what I call you, yeah.
Yeah, and actually, I'll be honest with you. Looking back, I don't know I can't remember what I made of it then, but I know that it didn't help how I started to feel about myself. But I'll come to that later because initially, number 1 Frigate Destroyer, number 1 Frigate Destroyer. But as I started feeling like in a certain way, which we'll get into later, I didn't like that name. So that's actually an interesting one that I didn't like. So the key things we'll be talking about today is actually how parents influence sibling relationships, making it better or sometimes making it worse without realizing. So the way we're going to look at it, Tonwa and Bomo, is we're going to follow like a chronological order. And I think that's a great way to look at it, suggested by Tonwa. So we'll start from our relationship when we were quite young, primary school. We'll go into our relationship in the secondary school era. and then we'll go into when we became sort of young adults, but still sort of single or uni, that kind of age, not quite independent then. And then we can go into the era where we were like adults, responsibilities and all that kind of stuff, because those are 4 distinct stages. So ready, let's start from the primary school era when we were, there's a 4-year gap between Tonwa and I, and there's a 2-year gap between Bomo and I. So what do you remember that really stands out for you, Tonwa, about this time?
So during that time, I'd said this to mom and dad not too long after you were born, Ibia, like literally the next day. I was like, but I wanted a boy. I wanted a brother. So why that's relevant? Because I wasn't used to having a second person getting all the attention. I was getting the attention for 4 years. Everything was about me. And all of a sudden, a bear came along. I didn't understand at that age that, look, you obviously needed more care than I did.
Mm-hmm.
So that influenced the way I behaved towards you. It was mommy and daddy's wish that I set a good example, be the older brother, always look out for you. Left to me, I'd love for you to get into trouble so that I could just turn around and say, look, she did that, mommy, daddy, this is what happened whilst you were not around. This is exactly, I can break it down, minute by minute. But your safety was, of course, very important. I remember some accidents that have happened in the past. Not that I stood back and watched, but being the protector, that was imposed on me as a firstborn. So fast forward to when Bomo was eventually born, I was like, okay, so I didn't get a younger brother, but at least I have someone who is going to also steal the spotlight so that Iberi can feel what I was feeling. And Iberi, you're here on the call, so I'm sure at some point you might talk through that. But I was a bit, well, I won't say relieved, but I felt, okay, fine. Now you know what it's like. You're no longer the center of attention. But I think somehow Bomo and I were a bit closer for whatever reason.
Yeah.
We're a bit closer. Maybe as we discussed, we might go into that. But back to your original question, I think that's how the dynamics were. Mom and daddy more or less imposed that I played a protector role, also set a good example for you and for Bomo.
And it's the way you've explained it. I hear so many parents talk about this, and they put the pressure without realizing on the first child to be a certain way. They forget that actually, like you described, the spotlight has been taken away from you. In a sense, you are feeling the pain or the loss of your parents' attention to an extent, not fully understanding why the attention has just gone to this new person that's come into the home. Then all of a sudden you are forced to look after this person, protect them, share your toys with them, give them everything, not get angry with them. And of course, because I'm 4 years younger, my developmental stage is much younger than yours. I remember vividly going up to your puzzles and just breaking them, because what else am I supposed to do with puzzles that you're fixing? There's nothing else but to break them. I don't know if you remember these examples, but yeah, for me, that was the way to engage with you. And you still were told to, come on now, why can't you, just be nice? Why can't you? She's just a baby. And then you're right, Bomo came along. And I vividly remember my mom saying to me all the time, she's your baby sister. She's your baby. And I couldn't understand how she's a baby. I was 2. I was a baby. I had no understanding of why I had to be more gentle and understanding with her. Let me let Bomo come in. How did you see it from your point of view, being the youngest?
Yeah, I mean, from my earliest memories, I don't really feel I was under a cover of, oh, my older ones are here. But somehow I was, because either the teachers knew or, some other friends knew, kind of thing, So I guess there was some cover. I don't remember Tonwa in primary school at all. There's no memory. There's actually no memory of him being there.
I'm remembering more what it was like in that house. That's how I'm seeing it. And one of the things I really remember there was Tonwa always playing all these games, very creative, writing comics, making drama. Because obviously we didn't have anything else to do. TV shows ended or whatever time. So he'd make all these shows, and oh gosh, I remember so clearly how I didn't like it, even though I took on the role, but I kind of wished for a different role because he was the director and he was always the hero somewhere.
Yeah.
And then
Of course, I'll be the hero. It goes without saying.
Exactly. Bomo, you were always the damsel in distress on the top of the bunk bed trying to be saved. And of course,
more like watching the play. I didn't know what the hell was going on.
You didn't have any role per se. You were just like doing your thing
Nope.
there.
You exactly, but I was always the wicked witch or the
You
evil.
played it so well. You played it very well. I couldn't play it better. Boma would be, no offense to you, but you'd be terrible at it. You wouldn't be believable as,
I took my role seriously in making sure she was trapped up there. But at the same time, a part of me thought, why can't I play a different role? And Tonwa, you've also said this. Let me just come back to Tonwa on that. You also said you remember, and I remember this clearly, you and Bomo being very close. Bomo, do you remember this? And I felt left out, if I'm honest with you.
Do I? I think there were phases because we're closer in age. I think we spent more time together, and that meant that we got into more tussles, so to speak. I guess maybe I only used to see him on the holidays because for some reason he was just like holiday, and I don't know where he was again.
Yeah, by the time I started secondary school. Yeah.
That's my point. So in the short space of time, you'll just like have all these amazing experiences and then he's gone. So I think that's why it kind of maybe felt like we're closer. But yeah, I'll say it's because of that.
Okay, I can say something on that. So I think, and you rightfully said, there were a lot of times you and Iberia were very close and having tussles every now and again. So by default, when I was around before secondary school, I was the person you turn to. That's what happened. I was the person you report to. That's before mom and daddy got back to work.
Exactly.
So I think over time, that's where maybe that closeness, started from.
A good point. True. Yeah, I always felt that you took her side. I definitely thought you preferred her to me. And then you and I were more likely to get into arguments as well. That's me and Tonwa as well.
Yeah, so I think I was thinking, she being younger than you.
Yes.
I had to stand in or defend her so that you don't take advantage. At least that was my mindset at the time. Who would speak for Boma? That was my mindset.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, but that's why with the whole number one frigate destroyer, coming back to that, I really felt like the black sheep. This is the problem, and the thing is, we didn't realize that then, but it's all these messages, and this is what I say to parents: it's not your intention. You are trying to protect the younger one. Of course, the older one, that's you now, Tonwa, trying to protect the younger one. I'm feeling like in the middle, like, hold on, who is looking out for me here? And then I have that nickname, number one frigate destroyer. And sometimes when children feel like, okay, I'm the one that they don't like, or I'm the bad one, you then do more naughty things to fit that role. Plus, I was always the wicked witch, but we get why. So
your acting skills, Oscar winning.
But I also remember you being like very intelligent. I think that I thought that would balanced out. Any other negative stuff you were.
I think what you're saying there is so important because we always feel like things should balance things out, but when it comes to humans, there's no, like, you can, like all these CEOs who are achieving everything and then one thing in their life, they just feel empty. So there's no, but you're right. But on reflection, I felt that was my area. Academics was my thing. And if I just keep nailing it, and I remember wanting to be more academic than Tonwa, definitely. I thought there was a competitive thing there as well.
Yeah.
It happens when you feel like, well, if I'm not the good one or whatever, so I'm going to be the clever one. So I think I had that as well, and that sort of competitive thing.
Yeah.
What do you think about labeling? Do you feel like we were labeled? I definitely feel like I was labeled the clever one. Not that both of you are extremely clever, but I was definitely given that label of the clever one. Do you feel you had labels?
For me personally, at least my mom and dad knew that art was my thing. I was always drawing.
Yeah.
I remember the time one of the teachers called and said, "We need to enroll Tonwa in art classes because the way he's drawing with so much detail at this age."
Yeah.
So I knew that was when it came to art. Clearly, that was what they labeled me with, which I was happy with. Anytime guests came over, while they were having the discussions, mom and dad with them, I was busy drawing them. And by the time they're about to leave, they're paying me to get a picture from me, which was fine. You, Abir, on the other hand, like you said, I mean, you were acing academics like no other. I mean, you were first in class, literally pretty much the whole period, I think, more or less. So you're always within the first three, you know? So the unfortunate thing for me then was that whether mommy and daddy knew it or not, but I think it was more mommy that was doing it. She'd compare you to me.
Yeah.
And why I say it wasn't fair is because I already passed those stages. I was no longer in primary one or primary two, primary three, and she's now telling me that, oh, see what a bear is getting. She's like, this, like, yeah. For me, my mentality was, I'm not failing. I'm getting enough to get into the next class. I'm learning, along the way. So if I was in the first three, I don't see why she used that to taunt me. I say it in a positive way. I didn't feel any pressure by it. But
I think I remember that comparison having more of an impact on me than you. It was like, oh, good. So I have something now, because I didn't feel I had anything else. If I'm the troublesome one, and I thought Bomo was like the pretty one, the nice one, the cute one, the baby. You're like the funny one, is how I thought you were, how everyone saw you. The dancer, you forget. Do you remember how good a dancer Tomo used to be? And everybody would be saying, even now.
Used to, I say, is it past tense?
No, still is.
Used to.
Yeah, still is. So I just thought, if I hold on to this, then I've got something. And that's what sometimes comparison does. Boma, what do you think about labels? Do you feel like you were labeled?
I mean, you listed a few labels there. I'm like,
You're like the baby of the house now. Baby of the house.
Okay, yes, I was technically. Again, is it a label? It was like a fact. Okay, yes, I was a baby of the house. However, though, so in the house, I didn't necessarily feel like baby. I kind of felt like we were treated the same. That's from my own perspective, though. However, meeting people outside and then saying, last born, that was the first time I started hearing all this last born stuff. Like, I didn't think, last borns like got away with anything. Again, it's my perception. But yeah, last born, I guess. Whatever comes with last born, I guess I
thought you got I don't know, I might be wrong. But from where I was sitting at the time, I felt you got far more materially than Ibera and I combined.
I just
felt so. I don't know why I felt so. But Bomo, it could be a number of things as well. Of course, their earning potential kept increasing. Right. So by the time you were born, Bomo, you could literally ask for anything, and then you just be getting it, on tap, And that's why I felt. If it was the same earning potential at the time, then maybe I wouldn't be saying this. But I felt, there was more available, so they could, use those resources more on you. That's why I felt.
I definitely felt that way. I felt that whatever Boma asked for, she got. Again, it's perception. I'll never forget little things you remember. Like, I remember Boma's 5th birthday and one gorgeous dress. Oh my gosh, I was so jealous of that dress. I still remember that dress so clearly. And then when mommy brought out the dress I was wearing, I thought it was the ugliest thing I'd ever seen in my whole entire life. And there's a picture of me and I was just sad, frown. I thought I look so ugly in this ugly dress compared to what Boma looked like. And I remember also things like, it's interesting how the child receiving it doesn't remember as much. And this might be something for parents to, hear, because looking back, you can see it's Toa and I, the older ones, that have seen all this. And Boma was oblivious. She didn't know that she was getting all this. But I remember things like, my mom saying, or mommy saying, oh, take Boma's plate to the kitchen. I'm like, why can't she take her own plate? Oh, she's the baby. And then I'll be so upset and I'd have to take her plate. Or can you go and wash this? Or maybe our hankies we used to wash, which was nice chores that we had to do, little chores. Or wash Boma's as well. No, and she's the baby. So things like that. And that is so vivid in my mind. Having said all of that, I don't remember not liking Bomo. I remember really feeling like Bomo was my I don't know why. I really liked it. We got on well, even though I really didn't like how, the things that mommy would ask me to do or how I felt in that kind of way.
Right.
Yeah.
No, you completely. I get it. The way Tampi broke it down makes perfect sense. But I think when I look at you guys, I think we had the same things. Like, for example, I we went to same schools. We all holiday together. Those are the things I'm looking at. And for example, I had to deal with the hand-me-downs. I don't know if you did. I had a few hand-me-downs, so it wasn't all like brand new shiny stuff.
Hand me down.
I
Okay.
don't
Yeah.
remember.
As
You're
well as
welcome.
the new stuff. I think the new stuff outnumbered the hand me downs. But let's
But
leave
there
that one.
were some
There
hand-me-downs at
were some
least.
few.
But let me ask you this, Tama. Do you remember you asking me to go and ask daddy for money because you noticed that he always gave me double of whatever I asked for? Did anybody else have that experience with daddy? You ask him for money and you get double.
I can't remember that. It's very possible. I can't remember.
Wow.
I cannot remember.
But this was primary school. So Thomas he said, go and ask daddy for money. He'll give you double. So I went and asked him, he gave me double and I gave Thomas. But that brings us to favoritism. Do you feel like our parents favored any of us? And what impact do you think that had? Who wants to go first?
I can go first. I don't mind. Not because I'm the firstborn, but I felt I was mommy's favorite.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's possibly the thing about the bond between the mother and the first child, possibly that. But I remember those times when I was naughty as per being careless. I remember I will never forget. I had no reason to swap my wristwatch with someone in secondary school, like in the first year. And after swapping it, I got back and I was with this other watch, and daddy was upset because the other watch was a gift. So like, where's the other watch? Like, oh, I swapped it with someone and scolded me. I mean, I was actually very, very upset. And it was mommy who came in the middle of the night, comfort me to, make sure I was okay. And she did that consistently. Anytime, I was upset about something, maybe I wasn't so good at math. So he would be really upset about how I don't know something that, we've literally just done like 3 examples and I'm still making silly mistakes. Yeah. So that didn't have to lay a hand on me, man. If you talked some harsh words, they will be etched into your brain for years to come. So mommy was the one that always came to me. I didn't have to go to her. She always came to me to give me a shoulder to cry on, to lean on. So I felt like I was a favorite.
That is so interesting because I do not know the daddy you're talking about. I do not know the mommy you're talking about. Isn't that fascinating? Honestly, daddy saying harsh words because you don't know something. I'm like,
you have no idea.
I literally have no idea. All I remember, and this is the interesting thing when they say siblings have different parents, because I felt that with daddy, he would listen to me. He will always like sort of call me terms of endearment, my darling daughter, still calls me my darling daughter now. If something happened or I did something, I remember him vividly. The one, he would always come to me, even if he's told me off for something, he would always be the one to come to me and say, did someone upset you? Was it me? Okay, I'm going to tell myself off. Different language, but different way. But he would always sort of make a joke about it. And I felt extremely comfortable with him. And with mommy, this is the first time I'm saying this, and I can't believe we're saying it on the podcast, but I actually used to say to my friends in primary school that my mom wasn't my mom.
What?
Yeah. Because I felt she was very harsh towards me. That was what I felt at the time. I just felt telling off. It was the sort of telling off and how children see things. I just felt I wasn't really liked, and I thought, and definitely noticed how you were favored and how Bomo was favored. And so I felt like maybe my mom didn't like me. So I used to say, she's not my mom. She's not my mom. Of course, no one believed.
It's interesting you say this. So as you're talking, I now remembered one image, as in one scenario that happened growing up. And I'm reminding the audience here, I'm 4 years older than Nigeria. But there's a thing when your dad is talking to you and this fear sets in. Even the simplest of things, and let's even talk about math as, just math as an example. Even the simplest of things, that there's a point where your brain is not trying to reason anymore. It's more about the fear of what your dad is going to do next. He's going to maybe carry something and smack your swing at you. And I remember it was a weekend, and maybe it was probably exam practice, and there was something which I didn't understand or I didn't know, and he kept asking. And then as a way to, I don't know if it was just taunt me or make a point, he called you a bear.
Yeah.
He then called you were playing or doing whatever, and he asked you the same thing he asked me. And you just gave him the answer like that. And I think he rewarded you, like maybe go take, I don't know, a bottle of Fanta in the fridge or something.
Yeah.
And he just looked at me like, this is like disappointment.
Yeah.
So those kind of things kind of stayed, right? So like I said, for a long time, I didn't feel close to him.
Yeah.
I knew he meant well and everything, but I thought clearly you were his favorite.
Yeah.
And I just gravitated to mom.
Yeah.
Throughout that primary school period.
Mm.
Even a bit of even secondary school, even though I was away from home, but yeah, I felt I was closer to mom.
Parents listening, understand the impact of doing things like this. I know we don't mean it, but that example that Tonwa just gave is one that I can't even imagine doing now, but a lot of us do it, where we make that obvious comparison. And just wanted to reach out to the parents now listening. It's not about feeling guilty or judging yourselves, but we're here talking about the impact of some of these things. Bomo, what do you think about favoritism growing up? Was there any favoritism?
First of all, I'm really sorry to hear this from both of you. These are just new revelations to me. And yeah, really sorry to hear all these things. So here we have, Ibiara, is daddy's favorites, and praise. So me now, what am I supposed to do? No, but I guess I had a different relationship with both parents, but I remember as a kid wanting to be like, I would say mom was my best friend for a while. And I don't know, I think I actually made that conscious effort. Like I wanted to dress like her. I wanted to do all these things. I wouldn't, and of course, I mean, she would like respond, but I didn't see it like her coming out to me as per, I'm going to take you. I felt I was the one always going like, okay, I want to, rest on you. I want to dress up, or I mean, I would go to the, what's it called? Vanity, what do you call that? The table, makeup space.
Yeah.
And just try things. So I think that was really me doing that consciously, and then at some point, maybe when I got to secondary school, I think that's when mommy started traveling a lot. And I was like home with daddy more. Then I started building that. Again, I felt it was a conscious thing, because up until that point, I didn't think I could have, and I felt I needed to have very constructive conversations with daddy. Whereas with mommy, you can just be, as you said, baby, whatever. I felt with daddy, I had to like talk serious talk. So it wasn't until I got to secondary school, I started gaining that confidence to speak. But the conversations were very, you're very mature now. You speak very well. He said things like that. But it wasn't much more of a bond. I don't know how to explain. It was just like, okay, we're forging a relationship here. But I don't feel I was his favorite. Even mommy, I'm telling you the truth. I feel I pushed more. I mean, there were times when you guys would get things maybe because you were older. I could have easily felt like she favored Tarapri or Ibiara more when I hear, oh my God, this person went there. Just the mere fact that you guys had traveled to London way before I ever traveled to London. Do you get what I mean? There was a part of like, oh, so why can I go? I didn't understand financial constraints. Do you get it? It was just like, so you now gave birth to Tarapri there. Why? Why him?
You're never going to let that go, are you?
No, not really, actually. So, I'm just saying those are things that could have made me feel, but I think I still just pushed myself. Oh, I want to be mummies. And
at 7 p.m. UK time, 8 p.m. West African time on the 10th of December, I will be hosting a free webinar called No More Sibling Rivalry. To register for this webinar, go to my website, raisingyourchildonpurpose.com/NMSR. This is the 4th webinar in my No More series. The first 3 are No More Shouting, No More Homework Hassle, and No More Tantrums. To access all these webinars for a lifetime at 50% off, go to my website at raisingyourchildonpurpose.com and use discount code 50% off NMWS. See you on the 10th of December. That's so interesting, because I definitely felt that it moved from Tonwa to Bomo, because Tonwa left, 4 years older than us, left and went to sort of not boarding school, but secondary school in a different part. So we can go into the secondary school phase. I think that was just quite an interesting phase, because we were all in different parts of the country, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's where I don't really feel we had much of a relationship anymore. What
Correct.
do you remember about that? I just don't seem to remember much about our secondary school relationship. It was very individual.
My memory of secondary school, so I was meant to come to your secondary school initially. Thankfully, I also got admitted into Tower Secondary School, so I went there in the end. He wasn't there when I joined. So
but everyone reminded you that I was there.
Everyone did. So that's what I mean by the cover. I felt that cover of like Tonwa's legacy. I guess that sort of paved the path for me, a path I didn't realize. Do you get? But it paved some sort of path for me. Even till this day now, I told him I saw some of his friends. They were like, "Oh my God, yeah, Tonwa's." I'm like, "Oh, wow." So it's good for sure. Abiera, I remember you would always come back from boarding house and like teach me stuff. That's what I remember. So you made a conscious effort to like teach me stuff, maybe in preparation for secondary school as well. And you taught me how to pack things, like my provisions, sort my suitcase out, all those things for boarding house, how to ration this and that. So that's my memory of secondary school. At least Iberia definitely impacted my boarding house experience.
That was when we were closest, Boma and I. I just don't seem to remember Tom. It just seemed much older and further away. But Boma and I were closest secondary. I can't remember all these things I'm talking about, favoritism or Iberia go and carry Boma's plate. That was primary. For some reason, secondary, when we come back in holiday, it was just, oh my gosh, I've missed you. I haven't seen you all term. Tom, what do you think on it? Because it feels like you moved away and maybe had other siblings. Did you ever feel that way?
Yes, I had a second family. Where I was in Ibadan. So it wasn't easy at first. So I moved into a household where there was a complete family unit, my aunt, my uncle, and my cousins. So a lot of the time I was confused about my place, because I didn't know whether I was meant to just be on the sidelines. I'm there literally to just, have a roof over my head and then have somewhere I'm going to school from. But gradually, that was a process that it took a while getting used to. But thankfully, I wasn't treated differently. I was treated like part of the family, which really helped a great deal. So I wasn't left out of anything. If anything was being shared, I was part of that. But bringing it back to us, I was also aware of the fact that, I missed both of you, but I didn't really try to keep in touch with both of you. It was, like you said, just when we got back from to the house, family house on holidays, we'll share experiences. There was nothing to really keep us close. I didn't really feel close to either of you.
That's so important, because decisions, again, things happen, raising kids, right? And obviously sending you away to a different part of the country actually really affected the relationship. But some parents might be listening to this thinking, oh gosh, my child is away in this boarding school, and does that mean, I'm actually destroying the sibling relationship? Well, no, because once we were all done with secondary school and we all moved to the UK, we became very close again. I remember the relationship I had with you, Toma, when I moved. So you moved in, was it 96 or 97?
97.
Yeah. And then 4 years later, I joined you. I had never had that relationship with Toma ever.
It was
That
very different. Very different.
you would give me money. You've always been generous. You'd give me money, even though my parents would give me money, you would call me. There was a point where you would check on me, and I'm not kidding, every single day we would chat.
It was literally like all that. So for any of the parents who are listening, it was like all those years of mommy and daddy saying, look after your younger sister, look after. It's like, even when I was abroad, it was still ringing in my ear. So they were not even telling me this. I was just doing it because that's the effect of consistency over the years. I was just doing this naturally.
Yeah, it was amazing. And at this point, it was just me and you, and it was just so important. You definitely looked after me. There was a time actually where I was struggling a bit at work. So this is now through uni, and I had in fact, there's some other times I can think of where I had one or two difficulties. And gosh, my brother, you were there. I remember once I was struggling a bit at work in my first year at work or something like that, and I had to take time off. And I was working in Bradford, and I came straight to you in London and stayed in your flat for 2 weeks until I felt better. So I will never, honestly, huge difference compared to how it was growing up. And then Boma joined us. What would you say when you joined us in the UK?
Wait, before that, you missed your secondary school time. I mean, when you were in secondary school, a couple of years before I joined. So I do remember visiting you quite a bit.
Yes, that's true.
And Ibiere got extra visiting days.
I did. I remember that.
And I knew that.
And that love or is that not love?
Imagine me thinking, she's only, I mean, we don't have a good perception of distance there, but I know that her school ain't too far from mine. Why is it that they can't stop by, or it was that kind of, okay, Mama, we've seen you. We quickly have to go and see a bear. And I'm thinking, this is my visiting day.
Yeah.
It's not hers.
I remember that
like
clearly.
that. You don't remember.
No, okay, I remember that clearly. Yeah. I'll tell you why. Because Mommy found out that I wasn't eating. She was very worried. I wasn't eating. I wasn't going to the dinner hall. I just wouldn't eat. So in a whole term, I wouldn't have any cooked food, because I wouldn't go to dinner hall. I was living on cereal and, soft drinks. And she was concerned. So she would come at some point. It was like almost every 2 weeks. She would visit. So because your visiting day, she'll come to me with cooked food, because then she will make sure that I'm eating something and to top up my provisions and to give me more money, because she was so concerned. And then because she knew I wasn't eating, and and so that was like, at least I was getting good food every 2 weeks. So that was actually the reason. So I remember that so clearly. She was very concerned I wasn't eating. She just felt if I don't give her stuff, this girl would wither away and not eat anything. So yeah. No, okay. So let's move on to when we all moved here. So when you moved to the UK, Bomo, how did you find that relationship?
I went to your uni, and so I had that cover again, which was good. I actually needed that in uni. I think that was the first place that I really appreciated. Although
It's all coming out. What?
It's not all coming out. The first week, this girl abandoned me. My very first week of uni. Speaking of cover, and first week, she just went to a holiday in Milan.
With mommy. With mommy.
She was coming.
With mommy.
She knew I was there. I saw her the week.
You and mommy planned it.
I can't.
See now. It's all coming
out.
Partners
in crime.
I can't remember. I remember going. No. I remember going, but I can't remember it was your first week.
So let me tell you how this all played out. Let's say uni starts Monday, but we have to show up like on Saturday or Friday or whatever. So I showed up the weekend before, of course, with mommy and Ibera now. And then the next day, I haven't even cited where campus is, by the way. I just know it's somewhere there. She traveled with mommy for a whole week.
Why did we plan it that way?
I don't know. So I still had to go to campus, find my like everything, find my student number, student registration, lecture halls, freshers, do all the fresher things. To be honest, it did work out well in the end. I even had to find a hostel, a dorm, a hostel or whatever. All that first week, can you imagine? This girl ran away from me. So again, what I'm saying is, I'm saying this to be honest. I'm not holding anything. No, I'm not holding anything really back, but I'm just saying that. So I'm not holding it inside, but I'm just saying that could have been a very good way for me to say, hey, you and mommy, another example of favorite. But I don't know why these things never really, they never really got to me. I just kind of felt like, okay, well, she travel, whatever. I'll go when the time comes. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, you did leave me that
that's your character now. Yeah.
But you make a really, really good point. I think it's worth pointing out to parents because it sounds to me as well that you had a good deposit of trust and love. Like you knew. So those things were not a big deal because you knew you would go. And this is kind of I say to parents that when they have that, the child has that good deposit of trust and love that the parent has put in them, they can do things with the other child and the other one will not feel bad. So the most important thing that also sticks is how you treat the child when they make a mistake. Because how I was responded to or reacted to when I made a mistake became stronger than those times. Those times did not balance out how I felt when I was being told off. And that's why I say to parents, it's so significant that you actually be very aware of how we react to the child because a lot of times it's the same child that gets told off the most. Well, let's move forward to what I would say was now a different time. And that was really when we became adults in our own right. So not young adults, and that relationship was still very positive. But when we became adults in our own right, you're now dealing with your responsibilities. Maybe you have your own family, you're trying to buy a house or all those adulting things. And that's when I would say that we started to see the first breakdown in our relationship. And if we can talk about that a bit, we might realize maybe some things from the past could have actually been what showed up and affected the relationship then. So we'll start with Boma and I, because if I remember clearly, people to talk about how close my sister is with me. We're so close. I don't remember any disagreements until the huge disagreement in 2014, where we didn't speak for God knows. I think we didn't speak for maybe 2 years or more, and it continued to affect our relationship for a few years after that. We had never had that before. So, Tonwa, I don't know if you knew anything about that, but what was your perspective just watching your sisters not getting on? Bomo, what do you think happened? And then I can also share what I think happened. Tonwa, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I remember the chaos in 2014. The difficult thing for me was I had heard both sides of the story, but parents being parents, and this mommy in particular, she would explain what happened in such a way that you're almost tempted to take sides.
Yeah.
And that's something I subconsciously didn't want to be, seen to be doing. I just always want to try and see things as objectively as possible. First and foremost, I was never there when things transpired between both of you. So if I was there, maybe then I'd have a more informed, opinion. But everything was, in fact, the first time I was hearing of anything was from mommy.
Yeah.
And I can't remember now. I think at some point I tried to hear both your sides of the story. But you know how it is. The first is like when you get a headline about some crazy thing that some celebrity has done. The first thing you're thinking about, you're analyzing that headline. You're not really worried about the source. It might not even be true, but it's like you think, well, there's no smoke without fire. So the first thing I heard was from mom, and the instinct is to want to take sides. Mm-hmm. Or it's based on how mommy has perceived one of you in the past. So you're just thinking, okay, this is just another episode of whatever. Mm-hmm. But I was quickly looking at how can both of you reconcile. And like I said, I mean, it took a while. And I mean, it was very upsetting.
Mhm.
And I can distinctly remember it was more like I would get in touch with you, Ibera. I'd get in touch with Bomo. I think I'm also at 40. I don't remember a time when I tried to say, let's even do what we're doing now. I mean, technology was there. We could have had a three-way call, even if it's just to talk and let everyone vent. I don't remember taking the mantle and saying, no, let's do this. I think I just kind of hope that you guys resolve issues.
Yeah.
Our mom and dad, they're still alive by God's grace. And I was thinking, well, daddy's still there. Daddy, older, wisdom and everything, let him intervene. I think I just kind of was worried about, let me, focus on my own thing, and hopefully between daddy and mommy, one of them will sort you guys out. That was my hope.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, it was definitely similar to what you're saying. It was a very surprising situation, but I felt what frustrated me so much was that I felt that Boma and I had enough to reconcile. Maybe in my relationship with Boma, I've really taken on that older sister role. And how much have I really listened to her? Because before I just thought, yeah, we like the same things, yeah, we get on. And it was only in that argument I started to think, well, hold on, do we actually are we really close, or am I just sort of, in a sense, assuming that, yeah, this is how we are? And maybe she had been feeling, because some of the things that were said, it almost felt like she had been feeling like maybe I'm not listened to or something. And I'd never thought that. So it kind of exposed that maybe some of what I thought the relationship, in my opinion, wasn't what I thought it was. And the second thing, just like you said, I really felt that it wasn't an argument between Boma and I anymore. My mom took over. So again, this was the thing that made me feel like, and when you think about the background of my feeling of favoritism and all of that, it's like she literally just stepped in and would basically defend Boma and, attack me in a sense with the argument as if it was her argument. And I felt that really, really prolonged the fight between you and I, Boma. Boma, I don't know what your take on all of this.
To be honest, it's something I don't want to talk about. So I've heard everything. I don't want to talk.
Oh, that's true. That's true. It was difficult, but we've definitely moved on and grown from that. And I think for me, that really highlighted the influence that parents can have and how it's a tricky thing, though, because it's your children. And we do this even when they're toddlers. We're saying, oh, this one, leave that child alone. And then the child starts feeling like, what about me? Because we're both your children. So I think it's just something for parents to be really, really aware of. And then again, in this adulthood, we've had good relationships,
Yeah.
but another scenario, this time between Tanwa and Bomo. How would you interpret what affected that relationship? Because again, it was such a close relationship when you were young in primary school, and then there was this big blow up recently that took some time. Again, we're all in good places now. Everyone listening, we're all in good places, and that's why we can do this. But what do you think parents can learn from that situation that the both of you had?
Okay, thanks. So I'd say that what happened between Bomo and I, on my part, I had some expectations that, looking back now, were not realistic. It wasn't actually fair on my part to expect certain things of her. But at the time, that wasn't my thinking. I think I was in a place where I felt, Boma is an adult, so I'm expecting her to know or do certain things. It's not, I mean, in my workplace, there are examples like that where you feel someone should or should not do certain things, but it doesn't hurt to just outrightly say so, as in say something, as opposed to just be quiet and rude and think, this person, start thinking that it's almost intentional. The person is behaving a certain way to spite you, so something that could easily have been avoided quickly spiraled out of control. And by the time Bomo spoke up after I now started voicing things, of course, by that time it was too late. I was now not even having I was not giving the listening ear again, which is not Bomo's fault. After that, I felt, you know what? Let's just go our separate ways. Hopefully, time will heal things. But it's I'm really happy that mommy and daddy got involved the way they did. And by the time they got involved, I didn't see any situation where they were taking sides with anybody. What was more important to them was let's keep this family as one.
Mm.
So I remember when eventually, and I think daddy orchestrated this. I think first it started with like a Zoom call or something like that, and then eventually a meeting at the family house, and that really helped. Believe it or not, I mean, there were flares in the air. It was literally fireworks, and I think it was important that everyone there got something off their chest that day, because right after that, I think everyone kind of just felt like, okay, I feel some relief now, and just thought, okay, what's important now? Let's live this life, and good memories henceforth. And since then, I mean, it takes time getting back to exactly where you were before, but I'm in a better place with Boma now. I do recall telling you, Boma, that if you want to reach out to me, feel free at any time. I have no plans to refer to anything in the past. If I ever do, Boma, feel free to just call me out on it. I'm not going to drag the past on anything that's happened. So let's move on. Any way I can help as a big brother, if you want to tell me something or ask something, I'm really happy that mom and daddy took the step they did. Today, we're having this call. I'm happy that, at least this is a testament to the fact that, I mean, no one can force anybody to be on this call. And I'm happy that as difficult as those situations were, we can look back and say, today we're having this call and hopefully making a difference for the people watching. But I'm happy that we're all talking. As far as I know, we're all talking with our mom and dad as well. So, yeah. Without going into much detail, I mean, that's how Boma and I are at the moment.
That's amazing to hear. Boma, would you like to add anything about the situation that happened with you and Tomwa and what you learned from it?
Honestly, Tampri, I said it all.
Wait, you know what, yeah? What we should have done is let Boma speak first. And then I'll say, no, Boma said it all.
No, but it's not. I'm happy to hear everything that Tampri said. Yeah, because I actually didn't know that's how he even felt. But I think time has also helped somehow to let everyone just sort of reflect and just take space and think about stuff. I think that the incident or during that period, I definitely started thinking, is it that people just said we're close? Were we actually close? That was something that crossed my mind quite a bit, because prior to then, I mean, Iber, we've talked about some squabbles that we had, but I think that's because we're closer in age and we spend more time. So I'd never ever had any, I want to say arguments even, let alone blow. So I started questioning that relationship. I was like, what even made us think we're close? Like, really, are we? So that was definitely a tough one. I had to definitely think about it for a while. But notwithstanding the closeness, I think it's just, it's family. So you kind of feel like, okay, family will always come together. So because family would always be there, it kind of gives you the license to be anyhow, if that makes sense, because they'll still be there. But at the same time, that saying, this is your family and we'll always come back together, it also helps you to start to build a relationship. So it's difficult, because sometimes I feel like maybe we treat friends better than we treat our family. And that's my point, because you kind of know that your family will always be there.
Taking them for granted.
Kind of.
Yeah.
That was a difficult one to deal with, but I'm just, glad that. And another thing you said, the time free about like getting back to where we were. I don't even know if, and I'm speaking about like all our relationships, all the dynamics here. I'm not sure if getting back to where we were was the thing, because I I kind of feel like if that was good, then like maybe this wouldn't have happened. So maybe it's to find a new type of better relationship because that one was never tested. Let's be frank. So maybe it was.
As you're talking, I was thinking about that. Because even with best friends, if they've never had even one argument about something, I really question what their friendship is based on, as in if it's really a friendship. There has to be something that, will eventually test that friendship. So you're right, but we never had that. And this, unfortunately, was the first time.
And this is one of the huge positives that I want to point out to parents of sibling fights. It's not a horrible. I know there's siblings that don't fight, but then they don't really speak. And quite frankly, they're not close, but they think they're close, but they haven't been tested. So that's why actually when we say that, oh, we're taking family for granted or siblings for granted, I actually think what's happening more is that we feel safer and more relaxed to just say how we really feel. So yes, you might have a blow up, but the key thing is, the key thing is how do you then come back together and resolve the conflict? What we've learned, the things that happened has been so important, has been so huge that actually, if you think about it, things have been a lot better since the whole thing happened. I'd say my relationship with you, Bomo, now is so much stronger and is more meaningful. We kind of have set better boundaries now. Same thing after what happened with you and Tonwa, you would have set better boundaries and you build up much better. So sibling conflict is not the issue. It's conflict resolution that is way more important for parents to realize this. And I also like how we talked about, in 2014, the way I feel my mom stepped in made situations worse. But then years later, even she had learned somehow to step in a bit better and not make. So there's learning that happens. And whilst at the time it's happening, it's like, oh my gosh, all this drama. But the key thing is we are learning to resolve things and come back stronger. I mean, and that's what I just really wanted to say about it. But have we got any final words of advice or anything for the people listening? This has been so helpful. I've learned a lot. I think we have to go first.
Oh, really? Yes. Because
they're the last one. We don't always want you to not to enjoy the privilege of going first.
I know, thanks. So what, any last words or any words of advice? What do you want me to say?
Any one words of wisdom, last words? Stop stalling. Oh yeah.
Just want to wait and say, well, yeah, exactly what Thomas said.
Exactly.
No, I think that it's terrible. But we all have different personalities. I just feel we didn't really even touch on our personality. I think we just kept going about the dynamics. I think our personalities matter a lot, as well as the positions that we find ourselves in, in the sibling ladder, whatever it is. I mean, imagine if, I don't know, I had my personality with like Iberia's position, or Iberia's personality with Tampri's position. So there are a lot of factors come into play. But I think as parents, I'm not one yet, but they're just doing the best that they can. And that's what I would always say. They're doing the best they can with the resources that they have.
I think something you said that's really important is the fact that personalities matter. And it's very important for parents listening to realize that. I think it was so profound when you said, my personality being the last or my personality being the first, it would have changed the whole dynamic. Your personality, different position. So parents just realizing that your children have different personalities. And so also be aware of that in how you, because that would affect the sibling dynamics to a large extent. Tama, any final words?
I think Boma said it all.
Yes.
I was dying to say that. No, but I love Bomo's points, and it's you don't believe Bomo. I was thinking about a situation where what if really I was like the last born, the girl was the first born, for example, you're the middle child. And then you said it's almost as if you were reading from some scripts. I was like, okay, I'm happy you mentioned that, but I don't have to talk about that again. The character factor would have definitely had an impact for sure. But what I'd like my own advice, I want to give advice for any parents who are not necessarily in a good place with their own siblings. My advice is to please just take that step, and even if you feel it's not your fault or you're in the right, just pick up the phone or send a chat. You'd be surprised. Maybe they've moved on from whatever the issue was. Maybe it's pride. They don't want to, be the first. But you know what? It doesn't matter. I'm happy that now I'm in a place where, Ebere, Bomoy on the call. I'm happy that we're all talking. We're connected. We didn't let the issues of the past, affect what's happening now. And then for parents to also watch closely the children, the dynamics between them. I have 2 kids, a girl and a boy, and they are at each other's throats, not all the time, but the times they are, I have to be careful not to take sides. So I think so far there's a bit of a balance, and they both know that I'm not favoring one over the other. So if the younger one does something that's wrong, I let the younger one know, and vice versa. So even if deep down you may have a favorite, we're only human, but guess what? They shouldn't ever see it, because guess what? As they grow up, they can eventually, have it will have some kind of effect on them, which may or may not, be what we intended as parents. So that's my advice.
Oh, wow. This has been awesome. This is the first of many. So thank you so much, Tonwa and Bomo, for joining me on Raising Your Child on Purpose podcast. This is going to be the No More Sibling Rivalry episode. I can't wait for you all to listen to it. The final thing I just want to ask you to do is please tell us your Instagram handles so that people can find you if they want to know more about the both of you.
Okay, Bomo, you can go first.
Okay. Wow. Thanks. I'm not used to this. Going first. Okay. My handle is Best of Bomo. I'm sure you can drop it in the.
I will.
Yeah, in the chat somewhere. So Best of Bomo. Yeah.
And mine is D Crazy Nigerian. So letter D and then Crazy Nigerian, one word.
Lovely. See you all soon. Bye. Thank you for listening to Parenting on Purpose podcast today. Remember to subscribe, leave a rating, and share with a parent who cares. You can follow me on Instagram at abiara.broly, where I post tips and videos regularly to help you on your parenting journey. Let's do this together for our kids.